So how's it feel to be back here in Nevada?
Feels good. It feels good. And I feel good about Nevada. We think we're organized well. We think we still maintain a lead here. We feel good about Nevada.
And we're from California. We ask every candidate, what personal ties, if any, do you have to California?
Well, I have a son and a daughter-in-law living in California now. I have a lot of friends in California. I've been going to California for a long, long time. Got an awful lot of endorsements in California, including three mayors today, but also, great friends like Dianne Feinstein and Barbara Boxer and the governor. So I've had a lot of ties for a long time in California.
One thing that people miss in California is Kamala Harris. What positions would you consider her for under your presidency?
Anything she'd be interested in.
Including vice president?
She's qualified to be president. I'd consider her for anything that she would be interested in.
The biggest thing you've made central to your campaign has been this argument about electability. But in California, it's a progressive state. The ideas of Medicare for all, free college tuition are popular. Why should voters pick you when some of their personal ideas might align better with a different candidate?
Well, they shouldn't if they don't align with me, but most do. Look at the polling data. We're doing really well in California. And look, for example, Medicare for all. It's going to cost $35 trillion, and it's going to rewrite the whole system. It's going to take 4 to 10 years, according to the authors, to get it passed. I provide Medicare if you want it, and we can afford it, and we can move quickly. And so I'm finding, and I think you're finding, if you look at the polling data, the significant number of Democrats in California and across the country support Medicare if you want it, and make sure everybody's covered without raising middle-class taxes.
And you've skipped out on 2 state party conventions in California as well as the
I hadn't skipped out.
Meetings.
No, come on, man. I haven't skipped out at all. What I've done is I was speaking to the LGBT community, which I found more important than showing up to your convention at the time. And secondly, I was doing an event in Ohio when you set the second debate, the second California convention.
So I guess what I'm getting at is a lot of your events and appearances in the state so far have been LA and San Francisco, a lot of fundraisers. You're not alone, but what's your approach to winning California, and why have you been ignoring the middle of the state so far?
Well, look, I mean, there's a primary going on. There's one coming up in Iowa, New Hampshire. Here, there's a caucus in South Carolina, and I think I've probably been in California as much as any other candidate not from California.
And housing affordability, homelessness, perhaps
gigantic issue.
Biggest issues in the state. What are you going to do as president?
Well, I'm going to make sure that everyone qualifies for Section 8 housing. No one should pay more than 30% of their income to be able to have rent. I'm going to make sure first-time home buyers are able to get a $15,000 down payment in the federal government. I'm going to see to it that we invest an awful lot of money in providing housing, and providing, in addition to housing, I had a long talk with Mayor Garcetti today about that very issue, laying out our mutual housing plan. We have to invest a great deal of money. Housing should be a right for people. The idea that you have so many people on the street in California because of the increase in cost of housing, it's just not right. And we're going to fully fund housing, and we're going to make sure that everyone has access to Section 8 housing. No one should pay more than 30% of their income for housing.
Do you believe there should be a right to shelter as New York?
Yes. I do.
And I think another big issue in the state, environment. We've seen devastating wildfires across California. One big question is whether or not to rebuild or not. How would you sort of balance that as president with climate change in Miami and other places? Does the federal government pay to relocate people, or? Look,
the federal government we have a $1.7 trillion project. We have to get to net zero emissions, and we have to start immediately in 2020. No, I mean, for real. If you go back and look, I'm the first guy to introduce a climate change as an initiative back in 1987. PolitiFact says it was a game changer. I've been involved in this my whole career. Secondly, as the guy who ran the Recovery Act, which was over $900 billion, I was directing the investment of $1 billion, driving down the cost of solar, driving down the cost of wind, and so it's now competitive with coal, and we invested billions of dollars. The largest wind farms, the largest solar farms in the country, in the world actually now. And so there's a lot we can do. And for example, first thing I do as president is rejoin an outfit I helped create, and that is the Paris Climate Accord, and bring everyone into it to the United States, whose members almost 200 nations, and have them up the ante. And by the way, Mayor Garcetti is a world leader in this. We're working with mayors all across the world. He is one of the guys I look to help get that done.
Endorsed you today for.
Well, no, it's not just he's been a friend. He has endorsed me today, and I really appreciate endorsement. Beyond that, don't be so cynical. The fact is, he has been way ahead on climate change, and we've been able to get an awful lot done so far. But the first thing you got to do is recognize science. This president, the idea you raking leaves in the forest, and is not the way you're going to stop climate change.
I think another big topic of discussion, I went to your LA rally, your first rally here in California, and I talked to a voter who was considering supporting you, and then I asked what would it take for Biden, and he said, when I see the vice president talk about, we can work with Republicans, he must be living in a different planet. Do you think you can work with Republicans, and if so, how, given these attacks from Trump and their strong allegiance to this president?
Well, three things. One, if we can't unite the country, you're in deep trouble. Not a joke. The country, democracy is at risk. There's only one way you can govern in America, by consensus. And I know I'm the only guy in this race from the beginning saying we have to unify the country. I've done it before, and I can do it again. It doesn't mean it's going to be a kumbaya moment, everybody hold hands. But they say, I don't know this new Republican Party. I know it better than anybody. I've been the victim of attacks. They've gone after my only surviving son. They're telling lies about me. For example, today on the air, that apparently the intelligence community is investigating Russia using bots to try to spread lies about me. I don't know that even Trump knows that's happening. And so here's the deal. If we cannot bring the country together, we're in real trouble. But I think we can. And I don't mean that we have to win back the Senate. And I think we can do that if we have a nominee who can help people win in North Carolina and Georgia and Kentucky, and in Texas and Arizona. And we do that, you're going to see there's going to be enough Republicans that we can make some compromises on a bunch of things that matter. But we must unite the country. If we don't, we're in deep trouble.
I had two final ones for you. Just what's your reaction to no candidates of color being on the next debate stage?
Well, I wish more people were on the debate stage. The fact is that, if you notice, I get more support from black and brown constituents than anybody in this race. That's where I come from. I come from the African American community. That's my base. We have the 8th largest black population in the United States in my state. That's how I got started. And so I think there's some really qualified people. And but it's the way the polls are running and the way things are moving. I'm not sure this whole debate setup has made any sense anyway to begin with. But it is what it is. But I tell you what, if I'm elected president, I promise you, my administration is going to look like America.
And I read your book, Promise Me, Dad, and it was a very emotional story of your late son, Bo. One thing that's top of mind is healthcare. And I remember you said in 2016 with CNN that Obama offered to pay for some of the medical expenses because you were considering selling your home in Delaware. And for a lot of people, they're struggling and they don't have that ability. Why is an incremental approach building on Obamacare?
There's nothing incremental. Let's get this straight. The most profound change in healthcare in America has happened with Obamacare. I can make sure everyone is covered with healthcare. We can reduce the price of drugs. We can reduce the cost of gold plans. We can limit deductibles to $1,000, and we can do it right away. We can get it done, and it covers everyone. And I promise you, when it passes, it's going to be revolutionary. You're going to see what happens. The idea you think we're going to pass a $30 trillion plan raising taxes on working class people and middle class people is just, at least Bernie's being honest about it. He's saying there's going to be a middle class tax increase. There's going to be an overall tax increase. We can get the same thing done quickly. Nothing incremental about it. It's getting it done.
And sorry,
we're at time.
I just had one. I just have to ask. With Promise Me, Dad, Bo made the promise, or Bo said, "Promise me, Dad, you're going to be okay," and you decided not to run for president. How are you emotionally ready right now? How have you been able
I didn't answer your other question. The president didn't, Bo wasn't worried about whether or not we could pay the medical bills. We paid the medical bills, and he was able to pay the medical bills. He was a hero in the Army, came back after a year in Iraq with the Bronze Star, Conspicuous Service Medal. He had insurance. That's not the point. The point was, what we were worried about was that he was worried he'd have to leave his job. He was leave his job as Attorney General, and he had no savings. And the president was asking me, the only person I confided in about Bo's condition, because I had my responsibilities as vice president, was Barack. He was a friend. And the prospect, and I said, he asked me how he's doing. I said, it's rough. He's worried that he had aphasia. He's starting to lose his ability to recall proper nouns. And I said, he's worried that he may have to resign as Attorney General, and he has no savings. And I said, but I'm good. I'm good. I can sell I don't need the big house I have now. And he said, and I was pointing out the president's friendship and generosity to Bo. He said, no, Joe, I have the money. I'll take care of it, and you can pay me back whenever. We didn't have to do that at all. But my generic point, the reason I wrote about it is to show you what a big heart and how close Barack was to my family and how much he cared about it. But we did not. Now, here's the one thing about Obamacare you talk about. Had we not passed Obamacare, what would have been able to happen with the insurance companies, they could say when Bo had a death sentence, it was just a matter of how long he'd live, not whether he'd live. And so they could have come in and said, you've run out of coverage. Suffer in peace the next 5, 7, 8 months that you lived. That's what Obamacare did, prevented that from happening. Guaranteed that 20 million people who didn't have insurance before had it. Guaranteed that you had over 100 million people who in fact out there had pre-existing conditions and their kids couldn't be covered. That's what it did. Nothing incremental. Nothing incremental about it. And the way we beat Republicans like we did in the year when they don't agree with us, we go out and beat them, not by questioning their motive, by questioning their judgment. I went into 24 states with over 65 candidates, and we won back the House. We won back other speakers. We ran on them against taking down Obamacare. And that's where my bottom line is. We're adding to Obamacare, building on it. We can get it done now and not have to wait forever.
Mr. Vice President, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you.